my gosh. Okay, so I'm so excited. Very excited for tonight's stream. It's going to be awesome. How is everybody doing? Let me go live on TikTok real quick. Also, my day was good, Jack. How's your day? There we go. Hi, TikTok. You guys are going to join so fast. But if you want to come join the Twitch stream, go to twitch.com/thekayleecampbell to come hang out. Somebody said, damn, you look like you pay your bills on time. Absolutely. All right. I'm gonna add RC now. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, then totally feel free to ask away. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Sorry
Absolutely.
for the delay. I just got off the phone with lawyers. I have many lawyers in my life. It's not a good thing.
Dang, that sounds crazy. Oh man. How are you doing today?
I am good. I'm good. It's been a long day. It's always a long day at Project Veritas. I'm on the road, but there's many things happening at our company. We're going to get into it, I'm sure, but it's the end of a week. It's Friday, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, so true. Oh my gosh. Yesterday was Thursday and it felt like a Sunday. All the days are just constantly being thrown off. Well, I'm glad you're here. And I know that everybody watching is very, very excited to hear more about Project Veritas and more about you in general, of course. Because when I was reading stuff, I've got to ask, because I know that there was an article, correct me if I'm wrong, dropped in 2017 about you being at a protest and getting punched in the face. What is that about?
Correct. That did happen. That happened in 2017. And civil discourse in this country, is dying. We've heard for years, don't talk about politics at the water cooler, and that's created generations upon generations of people who are incapable of just discussing political matters without emotions and without getting, violent. So, I was in California in Laguna Beach right after Charlottesville. And if you remember, right after Charlottesville, if you really think about it, it was kind of just like right after January 6th. Yeah. The establishment, they were ferocious. They were out for blood. Anyone associated, just anyone on the periphery of associated with someone who was at Charlottesville was under scrutiny. So it's a very, crazy time in America. If you remember 2017. So 2017, it was right after Charlottesville. I was in Laguna Beach and I was speaking out against illegal immigration. Not necessarily saying anything that was beside the facts. I was just speaking mere facts about the impacts of illegal immigration on minorities and other sorts of policy statistics. And I was, of course, surrounded by salivating, violent protesters. And, long story short, I took a punch. So, that was a time where obviously after the aftermath of Charlottesville. So, that was it was a conundrum for the media. It was a conundrum for politicians. And, I had my little day of fame. I think I was trending on Twitter and, it was good times. Definitely a punch that was worth it. So
that is crazy. And that stuff happens, like I was saying earlier, more than we think, but rarely is it ever like reported on. And like the violence, it feels like it's, one-sided. They feel like they can be violent. And of course, we're the side that we don't want violence to happen, but they say they're the tolerant left, and here they are punching people and threatening people and being very verbally and physically violent. And it's literally not okay.
Right. I mean, that was a rare occasion where that individual was actually prosecuted.
Oh, wow.
I really wonder if that would happen in today's day and age with, these district attorneys who have been kind of thrust into power with dark money and foreign donors, which has kind of changed our legal landscape in our country. These are things that we don't hear on the media. We hear on the media, Amber Heard, Johnny Depp. We're not talking about prosecutorial discretion and how it's been skewed and stuff like that. So I know we can't get into all of that in just a little bit of time, but Leah, it's very interesting times in America.
That is true. And I mean, that could be a whole other topic that we do a whole other day, because, the legal system and the way that that's all working is crazy. So with Project Veritas, I know you've worked with them. How long have you worked with them?
I've worked at Project Veritas since about 2019. I've played a litany of roles for them. I'm currently their press secretary, and they're a great organization and, just a very persecuted organization.
I love literally scrolling on Instagram, and I can't get on Twitter or else I'd be seeing all the stuff that's happening on Twitter right now. But I got banned on Twitter, and every time I make a new account, they instantly ban me. But I love seeing all of the constant updates and like things that are getting exposed like every single day. And I feel like it's something new every day, which is good because of how corrupt things have gotten recently. And so recently, there was the Elon Musk thing that had happened with Twitter. So I want you to go more into that and tell everybody about that.
Well, this has been a saga for us at Project Veritas. One of our beats at Project Veritas is big tech. We've done Pinterest, we've done Facebook, and we've done Twitter. And over the past month, we've done Twitter like we've never done it, before. Obviously, we had the engineer talking about how everyone at Twitter is commie AF. We had the Alex Martinez, the individual who is an ad guy at Twitter, a global partners manager, who actually, said that they made fun of Elon Musk for having Asperger's, said some things that were not inclusive. Yeah. So those were two bombshell investigations that we've had, and we've had a response from Elon Musk. Flash forward to, the last couple of days where Project Veritas, we have sources. We survive on sources. If you are out there watching this, if you're scrolling, you're watching this, or if you're watching this live, if you know something, please contact us at our tip line, veritastips@protonmail.com. Always have a plug. However, one of our brave sources who have contacted our tip line, given us access to Twitter all hands, the first time Elon Musk actually appeared in front of Twitter employees. This is the richest man in the world. This is monumental for him to be addressing Twitter employees. And not only did we have the ability to publish that meeting, but we also published the reaction from Twitter employees from their own Slack channel. So we've been in the news recently for that. The media coverage has been robust. There's been millions of views on Twitter, and that's what we do at Project Veritas. We break stories that, others in the media won't. There's a reason why people come to us. You don't think they can go to the New York Times with this information. So that's what we do. And we have fun doing it.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think that it's such a great thing because, like I said, how corrupt things have gotten recently even like the whistleblowers and stuff like that. Like I remember a few of them were announced in Miami back in January, and it's a tough job. It would be a tough job to, go undercover, go up, talk to these CEOs and people. And I kind of want to know, like, how do they not catch on? Like, it's good that they don't catch on because then we wouldn't get stuff exposed. But how could they be so dumb, I guess, to just blab their mouths about this stuff that ends up getting exposed? Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, you'd be surprised what information is actually out there. There just aren't people asking the questions. And maybe when people are asking the questions, obviously, they're just not recording those interactions. So, our undercover journalists are very good at what they do. We're the only journalist outfit essentially doing this kind of journalism. CBS, 60 Minutes, they used to do undercover journalism. Sometimes they're a liability for newsrooms for legal reasons. But most importantly, I think news media has kind of just become public affairs agents of the US government. So when you have a media that literally acts as a mouthpiece for the government, as a propaganda mouthpiece for the government, and you only have one small little company in upstate New York who has reporters who are going undercover and speaking with people in positions of power, you just are surprised by the very nature that we get this access and that we get this footage. But anyone can do this. Kaylee, you can do this. Anyone out there who's watching, people on college campuses. I think Jesse Waters once said that we need everyone to be a mini James O'Keefe. And I really think that's true. And I think that once we reach that level, we can really check the corruption that we have in this country. You know, I know a lot of people are very pessimistic. They're negative, and you know, they only say nothing happens and nothing's ever going to happen, and we're just doomed. I don't believe that. You know, I believe that the legal system still works. I believe that when people see incontrovertible evidence of corruption, that they will do something. And I believe that, you know, anyone can go out there and affect change. So that's our mission at Project Veritas. And that's, you know, something we all believe in.
Yeah. And that's important too, even for the people watching. Like right now, like, you know, I do this show, they do their work because we do believe that it can get better. I know it's very easy to be black-pilled at the end of the day and think, oh no, the corruption has gone too far, the government's gone too far. But like, the more we sit here and talk about these things and get them out there, and the power of social media in general, the amounts of people that you can reach to get this stuff out here is what's the most important, and what even your everyday average person can utilize on a daily basis. Because the more people that come together and the more people that start to wake up and realize all of this stuff, the more the government's going to kind of, you know, be a little bit afraid. Because when people start to stand up, that's when they have to like kind of step back and realize, you know?
That's a great point. And, you know, Elon Musk even said on that Twitter all hands call, you know, he said that back in the day, you'd have to write a press release and hope that the media, legacy media, will write about whatever your press release is on. And that's how you get your message out. But you're right. Nowadays with social media, there are a multiplicity of ways to get information out. And, you know, in some instances, they say, oh, you exposed voter fraud, but nothing happened. No one got arrested. Well, we think by the very nature of getting that information out to the people, we've done something.
Yeah.
It may not be the end all be all, but you have to not, you know, be black-pilled, as you said. And, you know, social media is a great way to just get information out nowadays. So, yeah, you know, couldn't agree more. And especially with what you said at the end there about the government being afraid. This is something James O'Keefe himself says, is that, you know, people need to realize that, you know, the government knows how powerful individuals are. But it's only that kind of, you know, android kind of apathetic mentality that is going to allow the current conditions to persist. So people really have to pull their head out of their ass. You know, I know this conversation makes people feel uncomfortable. If anyone's, you know, watching and if they disagree, feel free, please, to chime in. But this is, you know, we are optimistic that, you know, the conditions and the utter just conceit and savagery that currently exists at the highest levels of government will not go on forever.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's easy to get discouraged by the high gas prices and the things that are happening and being taught in the schools right now. And like all of that, seeing it from, you know, front page point of view is like, oh gosh, like we're going downhill. But we still have the power as the people. We still have the power to do something about it, to make it stop, and to say, hey, no, this is not how we want our country to run. And we're not going to put up with it, you know? Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. There are multiple ways to fight. And, you know, go to projectveritas.com. You know, even if you don't have a tip, you can join our army. We have a PV army and people who may have useful information, useful talents that, you know, may want to contribute to our mission in any way, because we are a nonprofit organization. So we literally only survive based on the donations of people like yourself and people at home.
Yeah, I had somebody in the TikTok chat right here say that they donate every single month.
That's great. That's, you know, we love our reoccurring donors. Thank you out there, TikTok user. Appreciate you. Yeah, you know, that's, you know, again, I think that the fabric of America still has things such as nonprofits, C3 organizations. There are still things and there are still mechanisms to fight in this country. And, you know, we can't be red pill or black pilled, as you said. I'm not familiar with all the Zoomer language, but you know, I'm not sure what our audience base is. But you know, it's a very interesting time in our country. But you have to stay firm, and you can't. You know, when people say that they're up against odds, what they're just really admitting is that they're afraid.
Yeah,
there's a difference between fear and danger, and it's okay to sense danger, but to be afraid, I don't know.
That's true. I agree. And like literally that's why I get so passionate about what I do, because I just want it to encourage other people to stand up. Like, I mean, I've heard so many similar stories from everybody since like becoming part of the movement that, you know, everybody, they lost their friends, they lost their family members, they lost their jobs, they've lost so many things just standing up for what they believe in. But I think that the return on the fulfillment of how it feels to be able to fight for what you believe in and to fight for justice and to fight for what's right is worth it at the end of the day. Because you don't want to be surrounded by people who don't support you and don't agree with you. But if you can go to bed at night knowing, hey, I said this because this is how I feel and this is what I believe, then that's honestly all that matters.
Yeah, that's what our whistleblowers do. That's similar to the sentiment of our FBI whistleblower. You know, after we were raided by the FBI, you know, many people thought, including likely the FBI, that they were going to have a chilling effect on our sources. Imagine trying to send sensitive information to a guy you just know got raided by the FBI. But believe it or not, despite that, you know, we stayed at it. No one quit at Project Veritas. James didn't quit. Employees didn't quit. And we had someone come forward within the FBI to give us information about our own investigation and information that actually contradicted statements and filings from the U.S. Attorney's Office. So again, you know, what would have happened if we would have quit in that moment? You know, what would have happened if James quit, if employees quit? So yeah, you know, just there's so many anecdotal evidence of Project Veritas of some of the things you're talking about. And again, the mission of our organization is for everyone to kind of have that hope, to have that optimism, to be willing to do something and to stand up.
Yeah, that's true. Do you remember what you were doing the day that you guys got raided by the FBI? Like, how'd that play out for you?
That was a shocking, the chilling day. You know, I was with many senior members of the company, including James O'Keefe. The first time that the raid happened, it happened to two of our colleagues. It happened at a pre-dawn, early in the morning. And, you know, and these FBI agents actually had their guns drawn. Imagine being someone like yourself. You're at the Leadership Institute, and maybe you're at another organization. You join Project Veritas, and now FBI agents have their guns drawn at you, simply because the company you work for decided to do its journalistic work to investigate a diary that happened to belong to the daughter of Joe Biden. So I was with many other senior members of our company, and I can kind of tell something was happening, and just by the nature of conversations and you know, we're a very transparent organization, and there was just an address to everyone, and we were notified of what happened, and you know, it was lots of different reactions. You know, as you can imagine, lots of different questions, people concerned for their family, and just it's a very tough moment. This has never happened to any journalist in the history of the United States of America. So we're reaching a level of savagery and unashamed just merchants of all out, you know, fear and corruption. We're living in that age now, which is a scary thing to believe. But, you know, it didn't happen to me. It did happen to our CEO, James O'Keefe.
Yeah.
It didn't happen to me. So knock on wood there.
Yeah. Because that's scary. That's honestly a very scary experience. Yeah. Oh my gosh. What would you say that your most favorite leak would be the entire time you've worked there? Most favorite, most crazy, chilling, whatever it is. What's yours?
Well, favorite. That's a tough one. In terms of impact, it's hard to say favorite because this was such a harrowing story with a situation that involved potential abuse of a minor, and just questionable sexual content involving a CNN producer, Jake Tapper's former producer, Rick Salibi. That investigation touched me in a different way because of the reaction we got from the family member of the people affected. You know, this is something we never really publicized, obviously, because of the sensitive nature of this. But, you know, we received, you know, initially some pushback when we divulged this information. However, ultimately, the reaction we received, you know, it quite literally brought me to tears. And this is what we do. This is why I do what I do. And I've been saying this during the entire podcast, and it's a cliche, but this is why I do what I do, you know, for someone to have a family member be a potential victim of sexual deviancy, for them to express gratitude, knowing that they don't necessarily agree with a lot of what we do for a living, is a moment where it's like, regardless of, you know, everyone was kind of, you know, emotional to see that kind of reaction. So, you know, that's what you get at Project Veritas. Aside from that, there was obviously the Twitter stuff was just a huge morale boost in the office for Elon Musk to be responding to an investigation from Project Veritas. And lastly, we had DARPA, Anthony Fauci, who famously said, Project Veritas distorted on Capitol Hill. That was an amazing moment for a U.S. Senator to be asking a question about our investigation. So those are three moments that stand out to me. Those are three moments all from the last year. You know, I can go on and on about our whistleblowers who are brave. You know, David Johnson, one of my personal favorite insiders. He was the Hasbro insider who came to us with information about how Hasbro was incorporating mechanisms of CRT into the production of their toys. And they were talking about how toddlers have a predisposition to racism. And this was a Black kid who came forward, and we announced this at Turning Points, one of Turning Points events, I think Student Action Summit one year. And we got to bring the insider out on stage, just a electric environment. And then I was his body man after the event, and just all the kids from Turning Point coming up to our insider, thanking him after the event. As I was walking him through, just trying to get to a space afterwards, he was getting bombarded, everyone thanking him. You know, so just seeing the insider get thanked, and then seeing his fundraiser go through the roof. You know, those are the great moments. You know, it's not easy to come forward, to risk your job, to risk your livelihood. You know, you're a 26-year-old at a company like Hasbro. You can work there for 2 decades, and you can eventually be seen. You know, obviously we know what these insiders are giving up, and unfortunately, this mentality of not being willing to give up your paycheck, being willing to give up your pension, as one of our insiders once said, that is what gets you to the Holocaust. This was our FBI whistleblower talking about the realization he came to when they bring cadets to the Holocaust Museum for them to understand, you know, the line between, you know, good and evil. Wow. But what they don't realize, however, is that, you know, people at the FBI, people committing injustice, corruption at the Department of Justice, at these 3-letter agencies, they're just people who want their families to live and thrive. And what they're doing is they're turning a blind eye to corruption they see as minimal, just for them to get a little bit ahead. So we need less of those people, and we need more people like our insiders.
Absolutely. And it's scary to even think about how deep the corruption runs within the people that we're supposed to look to trust. And that's just not the case anymore. And, you know, the whistleblowers do an amazing job, and they sacrifice a lot and put a lot on the line in order to get this stuff out. And that's very, very amazing, honestly.
We're great. We're very grateful that, you know, insiders are the lifeblood of our organization. And, you know, it's just unfortunate that corruption is just, you know, run so afoul in our country.
Yeah. I agree. Wow. Well, is there anything else you would like to inform the viewers? I know you plugged Project Veritas earlier. You can plug them again. I'll probably put them in the bio later when I edit this and upload it. But is there any advice you could give your everyday average viewer?
Well, I would implore everyone to follow Project Veritas Action. We have some great stuff coming out. That's our sister organization, the C4. some very good stuff coming out on Project Veritas Action regarding some of these races nationally. That's an official tease for you that technically we haven't put out anywhere else. But advice for individuals, I would just ask anyone, be brave. Have a phone. Anyone can buy a small camera online. If you hear of anything, say something. If you know someone who's in a position of power, who's witnessing corruption, advise them to speak out. Because unfortunately, not only is corruption happening in the government, but the media, who Thomas Jefferson thought would ultimately be a check on government corruption, our media acts as if government corruption is impossible. Our media will criticize you and call you a conspiracy theorist for even hinting about the possibility of government corruption. And even worse is not only does the media disagree with you, but the media doesn't think that you should exist. So that should be enough motivation for you to speak up and to speak out. You may be comfortable now, but I don't think everyone's going to be comfortable for a long time. We're already looking at a recession. We're looking at 2 consecutive quarters of contraction economically. And I don't see any reason to believe next quarter is going to be any better. So, propaganda is going to increase and corruption is going to increase. So stay vigilant.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much, RC, for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I hope the show's called What's Your Point? I hope I made my point.
You did. You made a great point. You made a bunch of great points.
Thank you.
I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So he's right about the corruption and it running deep and how things are only going to get worse from here. But the main sole point of that is that it's important, because if you do know something, or if you have seen something, or you know somebody who knows something, you've got to get it out. And that's why I love when you guys come on here and you ask questions and you talk about stuff, and it encourages you, or at least I hope it encourages you, to go out on your own and post something that you see. I know there's a lot of you guys that I follow back, and I see you guys reposting stuff, trying to get the word out. And that's important. And with like the recession he was talking about, and the gas prices going up, and the housing market about to crash, like all of this stuff isn't going to get better in the next 2 years. And so there is a lot of stuff that we can do to prevent it from happening in the next 4 years. That's why the elections are important. But that's why the election in November is very important. And that's why the presidential election is so important, because that's coming in 2024. And that's something that you all need to be very present for, and to make sure that you pay attention to who's running and what they actually stand for. Which is another reason I love what Project Veritas does, because they go and they send the whistleblowers out there to talk to these top executives from all of these companies, which companies that we already have a problem with, whether it's Twitter or the other multi-million-dollar companies, that all they care about is money. And they are willing to do anything for money, even with the 3-letter organizations that he was talking about earlier too. They will sacrifice a lot for the sake of getting an extra paycheck. And that's not okay. You really think the FBI should be doing that? You really think the CIA should be doing that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And like he said, he had a story about how they had a whistleblower in the FBI. The FBI comes and raids them, and then the FBI comes back to them, or at least one of them does, and is like, hey, this is what your investigation says, and it contradicts a lot of what we've been saying. And that was while the whole diary thing was going on. If you guys don't remember, I think it was Biden's niece. I think it was his niece, whose diary was leaked, and it was that Biden was, sexually assaulting his niece. And first of all, disgusting. Second of all, I was going to bring up the topic of one of the stories that he was talking about that had the most impact on him, and it was the CNN producer sexually assaulting a child or a minor. And that stuff happens all the time, and that's another thing, is that's where it really runs deep in these organizations. It happens everywhere, and it happens every day, But when it's happening by people in power, whether it's the government or the news networks or CEOs or just anybody in power in general, it's disgusting. And they think that they can get away with it. A lot of these people think that they can get away with these things because of their positions, and that's simply not the case. CNN is a mess, let me tell you. CNN is a whole mess. And I wasn't going to bring this up earlier, but I'm going to bring it up now because it has to do with news networks. Fox News, what's going on with them? That's very disappointing. They chose to run a story about a child trans girl to boy transition, and a lot of people have a problem with it right now because why would Fox do that? Fox had values. Fox, and I'm not like trying to act surprised or be like, oh my gosh, how could Fox do this? Because again, at the end of the day, guess what they are? Mainstream media. It's not our job to put all of our trust into mainstream media, no matter what side they claim to be on. Because if they claim to be on a certain side and would like to report more conservative or Republican-leaning content, and then they go and they run a story about a child who's transitioned, that's very hypocritical and not okay. And that's why a lot of people have a problem with that. And that's why I have a problem with Fox right now, because they're just trying to be mainstream and cool and trendy just because it's June. Just because it's June does not mean you need to run a story about a trans child on Fox. That's all I'll say about it. Also, TikTok, if you were watching and you missed it, we were listening to RC Maxwell. He works for Project Veritas as the press secretary, like he mentioned in the beginning. And you guys can go follow Project Veritas on Instagram. And like he said, they launched Project Veritas Action, which I am going to talk to him about because I would love to be a part of that. That sounds really awesome. I've been wary of Fox since the 2020 election. I watched them out of my left eye. Smart. Good point. Yeah. Now I'm being told that I'm supposed to play Among Us, and it feels like it's 2020 all over again. One of the main things that I'm going to tell Instagram is the same thing that I told Twitch and TikTok, is that it is not a better time than now to go on and stand up for what you believe in, okay? Literally, it does not matter. You should be willing to risk everything, because at the rate we're going and the rate the country's going, that's something that we have to fix, because it's going downhill every single day. And we talked about being black-pilled, and we talked about, somebody asked, is it even possible to stop corruption at this point? Our political system isn't transparent at all. This is kind of what we covered earlier about, people banding together. Like, the government will be afraid when people start to stand up against them. But this is why I absolutely love seeing when you guys repost stuff that I post, repost stuff that everybody else posts. That's what matters. And that's what's important. Because your everyday average person, you don't have to be an influencer to share stuff. You don't have to be an influencer to go live and talk about something that you saw today. You don't have to be an influencer to go to like Turning Point events or go to the Project Veritas events. All that matters is getting involved and banding together and standing up for what you believe in, and not being afraid whether you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose your friends, you're going to lose family members. You're going to lose a lot, okay? I've lost a lot. A lot of people have lost a lot. We all have very similar stories when it comes to being in the political movement. And because we're all borderline black-pilled at this point, to be completely honest, you've just got to say F it, basically, and you've got to stand up for what you believe in. Because the more we allow this stuff to happen, and the stuff that we're going to have to put up with in the next 2 years, and who knows after, actually, what might happen after the election. We don't know how the election's going to go. And I know that there's a lot of people that are super iffy about the 2024 election because they don't even know if it's going to be rigged or not. There's already thousands of things of proof out there about the 2020 election being rigged. We know that. That's a fact. That's not even worth talking about anymore. But we have no idea what to expect for 2024. And it's scary. It's scary. Gas prices, scary. Rent going up, scary. Trans drag shows, terrifying. All of this stuff is why I sit here every night and talk, because that is what's important to me. And your values and your morals should be important to you too. But yeah, no. So that was awesome. Love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight's episode. I will see you guys tomorrow at 8:30. It's not our job to put all of our trust into mainstream media, no matter what side they claim to be on. Because if they claim to be on a certain side and would like to report more conservative or Republican-leaning content, and then they go and they run a story about a child who's transitioned, that's very hypocritical, and that's why a lot of people have